Good people, welcome to another. Okay. The classes just don't do it today. Welcome to this channel where we discuss all things aviation, especially in the general aviation area, particularly in pilot training in South Africa. Today we're tackling the next license after the private pilot license, which is the commercial pilot license, aka the CPL. Watch till the end because I'll be sharing some very useful resources for anyone studying towards their commercial pilot license. So that was me throwing away my glasses. 3 of them. 3 pairs of glasses. The shades, and the reading glasses. All of them prescription glasses. By law, I'm supposed to have all of those. I'm supposed to have 2. But I tried to be extra and just add another pair just for control. Now, today we're going to do this without glasses at all. Let's see how it works. We are dealing with the commercial pilot license, which you get after your private pilot license. So unless you're doing an integrated course, the PPL, which we dealt with in a previous video, check it out up here, will be required for you to test and get your commercial pilot license. What are the requirements for a commercial pilot license? Number 1, you must be 18 years old or above. You cannot test for your commercial pilot license if you are still under 18. You have to wait for your 18th birthday before you can actually test for that license. Number 2, you must hold a valid class 1 medical certificate. That is, you must be examined by a designated aviation medical examiner, and you must be cleared to be safe and healthy to fly. Number 3, you must have written and passed all your theoretical exams, and you must have passed them within the period, the given period of 18 months. And once you've passed them, they get frozen for 36 months, within which you must take your commercial pilot skills test. Number 4, you must have a night rating. We shall discuss briefly what a night rating is. Number 5, you must have a general radio telephony certificate. In other words, you must have passed the course called general radio telephony. It examines your skills in terms of radio communications. Do you understand the language used? Do you understand the terminology? Do you understand the classification of airspaces? Do you understand which airspaces you can enter and which ones you may not enter? Once you've passed your theory exams, you've done your night rating, you've done your general radio certificate of proficiency, you are now ready to do the skills test, where you now get tested by a designated flight examiner, class 1 or class 2, to see if you are now properly skilled with the actual manipulation of controls and the actual flying of the aircraft. We talked also about a night rating as a prerequisite to the commercial pilot license. So what is this night rating? So a rating is a skill set that you add. Basically, you study for it, you do exercises for it, and then you get examined for it. It then gets endorsed on your license. In the majority of the cases, when you finish your private pilot license, you will not be night rated. You will just be a pilot who can fly only during the day, because to fly legally at night, you must have that rating endorsed on your license. So the logical step after your PPL is to do your night rating. So you do exercises at night, you fly at night, you do theory exams for flying at night, and you must pass them. And then you are examined at night for your proficiency to fly at night. You do your cross countries at night. You move from one base to another during that night exercise. And then at the end of the day, you get examined to see if you can actually fly at night. Once it is endorsed by the CAA on your license, now you can legally fly at night. Without that legal endorsement on your license, without that night rating, then you cannot fly at night. You must always limit your flying to during the day. So after your PPL, it's advisable to then get your night rating, because in any event, it will be a prerequisite for your commercial pilot license. So most people usually train by first getting their PPL and then adding a night rating on top of it, so that by the time they get to test for the CPL, they already have an endorsement on their license indicating that they have been night rated. So the ninth rating is a prerequisite for the CPL, and you must get it, so that at the end of the day you don't scurry around before your test to check if you. And besides, there are many hours that you must fly under your CPL training, which must be flown at night. So unless you're night rated, you will not necessarily be able to fly those hours. So it's imperative that as soon as you're done with your PPL, you get your night rating as you continue to work towards your commercial pilot license. That is the modular approach to aviation training, where you do each level on its own and then add another level and build up until you get to the topmost level. So what are the theoretical exams that you must get for your CPL? Remember, we said you must pass each one of these modules at 75%. If you get below that, then it's a fail and you must redo that exam. And if you get below a particular threshold, then you will be banned for 2 months from writing that particular exam. Let's say you get 45 or 40 or a low mark like that, then you will be banned for 2 months from actually writing the exam. Or if it's your second or third attempt, or it's a subsequent attempt on that exam and you still fail it with a particularly dismal mark, there will be that 2 month period within which you cannot retake that exam, because the CAA, when it made these regulations, the thought was that you must use the 2 months to go back and get instruction on that subject before coming back to attempt it again. So 75% is the passing threshold for all those exams. These exams include your general navigation, your LO, your human performance, your instrument and electronics, your flight planning and performance, your ATG, which is aircraft technical and general, and your general radio telephony, as well as your meteorology and your radio communications and aids. Now, this must be passed within the 18-month period, the block of 18 months from start to finish. And once you've finished all of them, they get frozen for 36 months. But should you not be able to pass them within the 18-month period, then what that means that they all fall away. Let's say you had written all of them except for one, and at the end of that period, you had one subject outstanding. You are going to have to repeat all of them from scratch for another 18-month period. So it's imperative for you to study every day. Study like a crazy fella. Go and write those exams and pass them at CAA with your first attempt if possible. Because they're very, very hard exams, I must say. It's not a walkover. All the subjects that I listed, your meteorology, you need to understand weather, wind, cloud formation, pressure, temperature, all those things. You need to really go into depth with that. Flight planning, you need to, and performance. You need to understand how heavy your aircraft is, where to place what in the aircraft in terms of loading the weight onto the aircraft. How much fuel must you carry, and how long will it take? Will that fuel actually take you? Instruments and electronics, you need to understand your instruments. How does this instrument behave and why? If it does this, what can I read from it and stuff like that. LO is also another critical exam that usually cripples people. It's a very complex exam. LO is a very complex exam. It cripples people in a number of occasions. General navigation is quite interesting and enjoyable. I love that subject. Radio comms and aids also is another enjoyable one. Lots of calculations here and there, communication stuff and stuff like that. But those are the exams that you must pass for your commercial pilot license before you can then go and undertake the skills test and pass it. Now, when it comes to hours, you've passed the theoretical exams. You have your night rating. You are 18 years old. You have a valid class 1 medical certificate, and you've passed general radio telephony. You must also have a particular number of hours that you have flown where you were doing exercises, both dual instruction and solo hours. Now, the total time for the CPL, that's if you're doing the modular approach, is 200 hours. But if you're doing an integrated approach, you will be required to have at least 150 hours. Now, 200 hours is more common because most people do the modular approach. They start with the PPL, then they come to the CPL. So you are required to have 200 hours total time. 20 of those hours can be done on a simulator. The rest should be done on an aircraft itself, a real aircraft. 100 of those hours must be what we call PIC hours. These are pilot in command hours. So of the 200 hours, a minimum of 100 must have been flown by you, the applicant, as a commander of the aircraft in which you were sitting. These would include 20 cross-country PIC hours. In other words, you are doing a cross country where you, the pilot, are commanding the aircraft. It's not a dual instruction type of thing. It's more of a solo flight. You are the pilot in command for 20 cross-country hours. So 20 of those hours must have been done in a flight, in flights that can be categorized as cross-country flights. What kinds of flights are these? The requirements for the commercial pilot license in South Africa require that your cross-country hours must include at least one flight of not less than 300 nautical miles, plus minus 555 kilometers, where you fly in a triangular format, requiring 2 full-stop landings away from base. So you take off from Rand Airport, you go to airport number 1, that's the first leg of the flight, and then you land there and you stop the aircraft. It's a full-stop landing. Then you start the aircraft again. You fly to a different airport number 2, and you stop the aircraft and you start it again, back to Rand Airport. Now, the totality of that must be 300 nautical miles or 550 kilometers on your own as PIC of that aircraft. You also need to demonstrate your ability to fly at night. So you need 5 hours of night flight as PIC. As a commander of the aircraft flying at night, you need to demonstrate that with 5 takeoffs and 5 landings by night. That would include a night cross-country, where one leg would not be any less than 50 nautical miles. That's part of the requirements for the commercial pilot license. You also need instrument time, 20 hours of instrument time, 10 of which can be done on a simulator. You also need to have been trained in what we call an advanced aircraft. In other words, retracting flaps, variable pitch propeller, as well as retracting landing gear, or a turbojet engine aircraft. So having done all that, you are ready for your skills test. Who will test you? It's called a DFE, Designated Flight Examiner, Class 1 or Class 2. They will have you do certain exercises. They will observe. They will make comments. When you come back, you will debrief and you will know whether you've passed or failed your commercial pilot skills test. Let's say the DFE says you have passed your check rate, your skill test. Then you pay the necessary fees to the CAA. He signs the forms that need to be signed. You lodge those forms with CAA. Fast forward 7 days, your license comes out. You are now a commercial pilot license holder. What can you do with it? You can now act as PIC, pilot in command, in commercial air transport operations, in any aircraft certified to be operated by a single pilot. You can also act as co-pilot in commercial air transport operations in any aircraft certified to be operated with a minimum of 2 pilots. Now you have the pilot license. For how long is it valid? 10 years. Provided that you comply with the payment of annual fees to the CAA and you comply with competency for that particular license. You must also have it revalidated, have a revalidation check 12 months after the initial issue of that license. Thereafter, the revalidation check will be done at every 24 months. Basically, now that you've passed all those tough subjects at CAA, now that you've passed that skill test to the DFE who was examining you, and you've been issued with your pilot license, you can now be remunerated for flying an aircraft. Yay! So earlier on I talked about ratings that you can add on top of your license. Remember we said the night rating is a requirement for applying for the commercial pilot license. There are other ratings that you may want to add as you go along so that your license has more value. Number 1 would be the instrument rating. Remember, you can take your commercial pilot license VFR, meaning you can fly under visual flight rules. In other words, where you see is where you can fly. If you can't see there, you can't fly there. But if you add an instrument rating, you will now be eligible, or you can now legally fly in what we call IMC, instrument meteorological conditions. In other words, where the eye cannot see, but the instruments can see. So you follow your instruments to fly under those conditions. Not every pilot can simply fly in IMC conditions. You must have an instrument rating endorsed on your license to legally fly in IMC in instrument meteorological conditions. Another rating you can add is your multi-engine rating, because as a modular student you might want to just do your commercial pilot single engine and also do it a VFR, and then add these ratings as you go along, because it costs money. Every stage costs money. So you can also add your multi-engine as a rating later on. In other words, you can now fly an aircraft with more than just one engine. Adding all these ratings on top of your commercial license actually makes you a more proficient pilot, a more safer pilot, and it enhances your desirability for recruitment should you need to be recruited after your commercial pilot license. It's that time again where I give you resources that will be very handy on your study towards your commercial pilot license. Number one, atpforum.eu. I've already mentioned that in my video on the PPL. That particular website is very useful even for commercial pilot license studies. If you type any question, no matter how complex, on Google, most of the time it will pull up that particular website. There are experts there. There are qualified pilots who have been given such questions, and they've already given advice on those questions. You will find various methods of tackling the same question on atpforum.eu. Check that out. It's in the description of the video below. CourseHero.com. CourseHero.com usually requires you to subscribe, but you can get a few snippets. Sometimes you can get a few pages for free on CourseHero.com. What would you get there? Questions that you would otherwise be paying for in a question bank or a database that is available online. So CourseHero.com would be very useful for any student who's dealing with the theoretical exams at CAA. It will help you very much to check it out. Now, the next resource are the question banks that are available out there that help you in your studying towards your exams. What I like most is dauntlessaviation.com. Why do I like it so much? Because I first subscribed for dauntlessaviation.com in 2015. They give a lifetime access to their database. All you need to do is keep refreshing online or download their app. They are very good. They carry your EASA type of questions, they carry your FAA type of questions, they carry your JR type of questions. They are good when you're studying towards your theoretical exams at CAA. Then there are other question banks that are popular that are also very useful that I've used in the past as well. These include aviation exam, which is more of an EASA based question bank, but very, very useful even for South African students as well, except you might want to augment their database with local databases when it comes to meteorology, because South African weather will not necessarily be up there, and also LO, because then you'll be required to know LO relevant to South Africa most of the time. Apart from aviationexam.com, we also have questionbank.co.za, very good as well, and we have pilotexamsa.com. It's a very good database as well. They usually offer subscription on a periodic basis. In other words, you could subscribe for 1 month or 3 months or 6 months or a year. Check them out. They're very good, because what these databases do is that they already program your mind to know that the format of questions that might appear at CAA, the manner of phrasing of the questions that they have in their databases will be similar to how CAA might phrase its questions. So your brain already, but when it comes to writing the actual exam, has already been exposed to that line of questioning. It makes it much easier for you to then tackle those questions. And of course, last but not least, YouTube. That's a very good resource. I should not forget to mention that one. flightmikealpha.com. They have a channel on YouTube. They do experimental videos on aircraft. This will help you as a commercial pilot student to understand in depth the principles of flight and the techniques of flying. Check them out. Guys, thank you for staying with me to the end, and if you liked our video, please click the like button below, and also subscribe and tell your friends about it. Those who aspire to start studying towards aviation, those who are midway through their aviation studies, this is the channel to follow, the channel where we discuss all things aviation, and particularly in the general aviation sector, and in particular the South African scene. Angelo Dube saying until next time and signing out. Thank you very much.